It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the National Lacrosse Marketing and Communications Manager, Ryan Ireland. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to work in professional sports, particularly national lacrosse?
Yeah, so coming out of high school, I played sports growing up my whole life and really thoroughly enjoyed it, and was always intrigued on the business side of things in terms of contracts and naming rights, sponsorships, things like that. So ended up studying sports management at Ohio University, in the College of Business there. And originally I was a baseball and basketball guy growing up, so wanted to be the GM of the Colorado Rockies, but quickly realized that the dream wasn't meant to be at that point, and just tried to figure out other avenues into the industry. And lacrosse just happened to fall into my lap. I'd never played or watched growing up, but got an internship at the University of Denver, which has a nationally ranked lacrosse program, which was my real first exposure to the sport. And eventually had internships with the Denver Outlaws, the now defunct Major League Lacrosse team, and eventually with the Colorado Mammoth of the National Lacrosse League, and then eventually made my way over to the league side with the National Lacrosse League offices.
Can you talk about, of course, what was your experience like with the Denver Outlaws as the Gameday Intern?
Yeah, so it was a pretty basic internship, a lot of running around and heavy lifting, but definitely got me some great exposure to the industry and game day, a lot of the fan experiences, which was fantastic. So I helped set up all their fan interactions. I helped with their in-game promotions and things like that. But it was really just a great exposure piece for me to network within the sports community within Denver, and also exposing me to a brand new sport that I'd never been involved with. And working for the Outlaws was great, considering that they played at Mile High Stadium and they led the league in attendance. And every 4th of July, they'd have a fireworks show and get over 30,000 people, which was a bit hectic for as small of a team as we had. But to see the fans' reactions and just their enjoyment at the game was always worth it for me.
What was your time like with the WAC conference as the media relations intern?
Yeah, it was just it was a weird connection. Their creative designer was an Ohio University alumni who I reached out to, just asking to volunteer with them, and they said yeah, and they knew I needed an internship in order to graduate, so they helped me with the split internship with the WAC and DU. It was great. It taught me a lot of the nonprofit and governance side of things, especially at a collegiate conference, and just broadened. Again, I got to work on so many different sports in terms of track and field and tennis and golf. And the highlight was definitely I got to go to Boise to run their indoor track and field championships, which I basically helped run from start to finish in terms of actually creating the manual for the teams to figure out their travel and the dates and times, as well as the actual setup in Boise, and hand out awards and making sure everything ran smoothly. So it was definitely a broad spectrum of the media relations and updating statistics, but also the event management side of things in terms of actually running a full tournament or championship for these collegiate athletes.
How did it feel whenever you hit your dreams of being the beat reporter for the National Lacrosse League?
So that was another interesting piece. So I was working with the Colorado Mammoth, and I saw the job opening for the beat writer position. And basically the requirements were that you had to know lacrosse and be at every single Mammoth home game. And as the marketing coordinator for the Mammoth, I was already doing both of those things. So it was a nice way for me to, again, continue to network and broaden my experience and resume. And again, it was really nice for me to be able to actually sit and watch the games for the most part, and being able to share my experience and hopefully, narrate the game as best as I can to hopefully get more fans interested in the game, learning more about the players, the statistics, and things like that. So it was a really fun experience, but it honestly just kind of happened to fit in perfectly with my day job, considering I was already at all the home games anyway.
For my listeners that don't know what a beat reporter is, can you elaborate on what a beat reporter does on the National Lacrosse League?
Yeah, so basically the beat reporter for the league would write game previews and game recaps for each of the home games in Colorado. So I would, preface the game with, storylines to watch and stats, things like that to take into account for, and, do some interviews with the players, the coaches, the GMs, things of that nature. And then I do the game recaps, which is basically just the summation of the game and talking highlights, stats, and kind of what's next for each of the teams moving forward.
What was it like whenever you came back to the National Lacrosse League after being the beat reporter and leaving for a few while to now become the marketing and communications relations manager?
Yeah, it definitely helped in my career that I had done the beat writer position, because I got to meet most of the folks within the National Lacrosse League front office. They knew I was a go-getter kind of individual and really wanting to make it work. But it was great coming from the team side, working with the Colorado Mammoth, to then going to the league office. I'm the only one in the league office who's actually worked for one of our teams, so that's been great to be able to bring some of that insight of what teams are going through and what their reactions are versus what the league is primarily focusing on, because there sometimes isn't always the perfect unity in both of those messages, just given the differences in scales between our teams and then what the league office is trying to accomplish.
How has that experience of working like as a beat reporter and now being like in the front office, how has that helped you?
The biggest thing for me, and some of my biggest advice for people looking to get into the industry, is it just helped me become a fan. It really helped me get to know the players more, get to know the teams more, get to know the sport as a whole more. Because like I mentioned, I was never a lacrosse guy at heart, but it really helped me just understand the sport a lot better and get into the ecosystem, which for me beforehand was just unfamiliar. So it just really helped me familiarize myself with the sport and the players. And it helps me a lot now because I have good working relationships with a lot of the players and coaches that I can just reach out to in need of a request versus going through, I don't want to say proper channels, but going through the PR teams or agents or things like that to get a hold of them.
What are some of your roles as the marketing manager?
It varies a lot day by day, which is part of the reason why I really love the job. But my primary role is I lead our team services function. So I'm our main point of contact with each of our 14 teams for anything marketing related and communications related. So if there's any press releases coming out, if there are any activations, or if teams just need assistance on things, I'm able to help them based off what I know at the league level, not the team level. But I also I qualify it as I work on big and special events. So we've been working hard to rebrand and bring back our Hall of Fame, which has been on a 5-year hiatus, helping with our brand new CSR functionality and bringing that to a whole league-wide level, and then helping out with things like our entry draft, expansion drafts, and hopefully some grassroots activation pieces with like our junior NLL tournament. So it's a whole smorgasbord of things, but that's part of the reason why I thoroughly enjoy it.
When it comes to the marketing side of National Lacrosse, can you talk about what goes on that and how people that don't know about lacrosse, how you can help them to know more about it?
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest challenges in my job, but honestly, one of the most fun things is lacrosse is obviously still a niche sport across North America. It's gaining a lot of youth players, but it's getting them to actually follow our teams and our players and coming out to games. So it's interesting in the sense that coming into a Denver like market, or going into a market like Denver that has so many sports teams like the Broncos, Rockies, Avalanche, all those sports. The Mammoth were definitely not top of mind. So whenever I use my example of a billboard, it's really tough to showcase the Mammoth experience, because I want to showcase lacrosse because it's a lacrosse game. So I get a picture of a guy with a lacrosse stick, but it doesn't resonate with the general population. You're like, it's lacrosse. I don't, it's not something for me. But the biggest thing that we definitely try to showcase is the fan experience at games. So music plays the whole time, and the sport is really easy to understand in terms of the game flow. It's very similar to hockey and basketball with a shot clock and the shift switches and things like that. So we definitely focus more on the experience and the affordability, given that tickets to our games are a lot more affordable than going to like an NBA or NFL game. But that's I think the biggest difference and challenge for us is getting those people out to their first game if they've never been to a lacrosse game, because there's just the connotation around it of like, I'm not interested. I never grew up with it. But we definitely see that when people come out to their first game, they're usually hooked and will definitely come out to more games in the future.
When it comes to the relocation, are there teams out in the North Carolina, South Carolina, and Southern area, or are they more up north?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. So primarily, most of our teams are located northeast. It's definitely where the highest density of lacrosse is played in North America. So we now have 4 teams in New York. Our New England team relocated to Albany, New York. In terms of the South, we did have a team in Charlotte back in the 90s. They ended up folding. And then we do have a team in Georgia called the Georgia Swarm. And those are our teams in the Southeast region. But I know our commissioner has been, and we've gone in my time since 2017 from 9 teams to, we're going to be announcing our 15th team here in a couple months. So the league has been growing, which has been great. And we've had some great ownership come into the league, but I wouldn't say North Carolina or South Carolina is out of the loop, but I don't know if any future expansion plans are planned for that area.
When it comes to, of course, expansion plans, what involves when it comes to that?
When it comes to what, sorry?
The expansion plans, what plans go into involve? Like, do you look at their location?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, our commissioner has a few things that really set the criteria for our expansion franchises. So one is definitely location. We want to have a location where there's good youth development in terms of lacrosse. The second piece is a good ownership group. This was way before my time, but it felt like there were definitely times where the league would just give out teams to anyone who wanted one. But we definitely are now looking for ownerships with deep pockets who are truly invested in growing the game and being involved with their organization. And then the third piece is having a good arena deal. So since lacrosse isn't a huge moneymaker and a lot of our teams aren't the primary tenants in their venues, we definitely look to have good arena deals so that our teams can play in primary dates and get the highest amount of revenue as possible in arenas that are hopefully first class, like the Saddle Dome up in Calgary, Ball Arena in Denver, and now we're at the Times Union Center in Albany. So definitely it's the size and the quality of the venues is another piece that we look at for expansion.
What is the day in the life of a communications manager?
It varies a lot, which is part of why I truly enjoy my role. I mean, it's been tough in the last year because we haven't played since the pandemic first hit in March of 2020, but it's a bit of everything. Like I mentioned, like I've worked on our Hall of Fame, our CSR strategy, our entry draft, pulling reports and data from our teams and our league as a whole to help with our sponsorship activations and selling that side of things. But on the communication side, it's really just the thoughtful planning of our releases and new information that's coming out to make sure we get the most bang for our buck. Given that we aren't the NFL, who's going to get the primary spots on ESPN and in most news stations, we have to definitely pick and choose our times wisely and when we post our big news and release our big news, and trying just to get the most effect to broaden our reach within our communication strategy.
When it comes to the marketing side, and obviously COVID is right now in the air and a big factor, how important is it to still market the league even though you're not playing right now?
I mean, it's crucial, and it's something that's been really interesting to see over the last year, given the lack of sports at the beginning, but we definitely seen that consumers have a wide breadth of interest that they only have so much time that they can dedicate to sports and other entertainment factors. And we've definitely seen, given the fact that so many things have been shut down and altered over the last year, that there's a widening attention or opportunity is what we'll call it, in terms of getting people interested and attracted to our game. And especially since we haven't played in a year, and once we start in December, it'll be 18 months since our last home game. It's important to be top of mind for our fans, keeping them engaged, and hopefully when our doors open up on December 3rd, that they're still interested in our sport and purchasing tickets, buying apparel, and supporting our team. So it's been difficult to stay top of mind, but it's been a priority given all those factors that we need to remain top of mind, and hopefully getting some new fans into our buildings as well.
What is the process like if a person in media wants to interview somebody in the National League, whether it's players, owners, or anybody in the National Lacrosse?
It's interesting. The lacrosse community has been amazing. It's probably like the most open and easygoing group of folks I've ever had the chance to interact with, which is fantastic. So I know some people have literally just DM'd our players on Twitter or their Instagram pages and asked for interviews. Otherwise, each of our teams has their PR manager, which works very closely with all of our players and coaches. And like I said, they're usually pretty easy to get a hold of, and usually always willing to give back and, provide their insights. Because again, as much as I'd like to take credit and, try to do as many interviews as I can, I'm not the one that they're looking for. They want to talk to our players, our coaches, and our GMs. So the best avenues with our PR folks, but again, some of our players are just super easygoing that you could literally DM them and they'll be more than happy to talk with you about their experiences or anything like that.
What is something that you learn now that you didn't know before becoming the marketing and communications manager?
Geez. I think the biggest thing for me is just how much work goes in at the league office to make everything function. I mean, I think we're at 15 or 16 full-time staff members to make everything run. And, we're trying to negotiate our media rights deal and, different sponsorships and activations and fan engagement pieces and, the player side of things in terms of contracts and drafts. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and, it's an all hands on deck kind of approach. But no, it's truly, again, I think the biggest thing for me is just the niceness and greatness of the lacrosse community, and even within our teams, to be able to make everything work. It's been great to be able to connect more with each of our 14 different markets, meet the individuals on those teams, and we're all in the same boat trying to grow the game together. And there's just a real passion and hope for our folks to be able to bring that to the next level, even though we have relatively small staff sizes.
What advice would you give upcoming future people looking to get into media relations and marketing on the lacrosse side?
Yeah, lacrosse is difficult because it's such a small space, and not a lot of jobs come open. But I definitely say keep your eyes out. I think the other big piece of it, and I know this is potentially not the most fun advice, but is to look at unpaid internships or other internships. Is a lot of our staffs definitely like to promote from within, and I know a lot of people who got their starts just because they volunteered with the team. And it's that community aspect of you're more likely to hire or work with people that you like, and versus someone who's a stranger just applying on like a teamwork online application. So and I'd say on the media relations and marketing side, I actually started off in ticket sales, which again is not the most fun sound advice, but it really taught me to appreciate just the grand structure of everything, because it all starts at ticket sales, especially for a league like ours. So being able to start off in ticket sales, build up your credibility in terms of being able to generate revenue on the marketing side of thing is definitely crucial to that future success. So lacrosse is difficult to start off with, but definitely think it's worth if you're able to volunteer, to attend a game, or again, even just reach out to most of the folks who work within the organization. They're gonna be more than happy to talk with you about their roles and any potential future opportunities.
What advice would you give somebody looking to work in professional sports?
My biggest piece of advice is just don't limit yourself. Like I said, I was a baseball and basketball guy growing up, wanted to be the GM of the Rockies, but I never thought, if you would have asked me 5-10 years ago, if I would be working in lacrosse, I'd have told you no way. And I've loved it. It's something that I never would have expected. So I know I've had people say, oh, I want to come work in Denver. Like, Denver's an awesome city. I'm like, that's great, but you're limiting yourself to what's in Denver. And not to say, don't strive for your dreams, but I think the biggest thing is, just be open to new opportunities, really do your homework, and look for a mentor who's going to guide you to that dream job that you want, versus just chasing a logo. You could, work for and not throwing any shade, but you could work for the Dallas Cowboys, don't get to wear the star on your chest with pride, but if you don't like your job, then you're not going to, want to do it. So definitely look to chase a mentor that's going to help you chase your dreams, as well as an organization that culturally fits what you want to do and helps you achieve your goals.
Where can my listeners find, of course, the National Lacrosse Games along with them on social media?
Yeah, so our social channels are at NLL or National Lacrosse League. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I definitely recommend checking us out. NLL.com is our website, and not too sure about games for the next upcoming season. We're going through a media rights negotiation, but we'll definitely make sure to post that once we know more, and we'll definitely have information on our websites for fans to tune in to watch our games. But if you're not able to watch online or on TV, definitely make sure to come check out a game. It's definitely worth it.
Where can my listeners find you on social media?
Yeah. I don't even remember. My Instagram is at dude18858. It was my original AIM email or username, so that's why that came about. And then Twitter, I'm at rireland18. Don't post too much there, but if you're ever interested, I check it. It's mainly for work purposes to see what other teams are doing. But and then I'm on LinkedIn as well, which is pretty easy to find me at.
Thank you again, Ryan Ireland, for your interview, and best of luck in the National Lacrosse as a marketing and communications manager.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Ryan, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.